Hey family, I'm sorry about that. The mic wasn't on and I wasn't talking or anything. I was just trying to for some more people to come into the room. So, assalamu alaikum. Hey everybody that's in the chat. Mickey Brooks, Raven Dene, Reparations Nation, Red 6. Yeah, I wasn't talking. I'll still gray. Hey, I wasn't talking. I was waiting for Amina to get out of the room. Yes, honey.
No, I want to see a few.
No. You gotta go. No, pick him up and go. She is so hard headed. Lord, just pick up the markers and your crayons and your dolls and go into the living room.
I did pick up the crayons.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Sorry about that. This has been a off day for me, y'all. I've been up since like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm a little tired. Yes, I'll still cry. She does, but like she only wants to be in here because she thinks that I'm on on the camera. So she wants to be in the camera too. I told her if you want to be a YouTuber, make your own videos. I tell her and her brother that all the time. Actually, last summer Asim had his own YouTube channel. And I think he got taken off the the platform. Yeah. Asim's and then but Asim don't judge me, y'all. But yeah, Asim, he probably made like 300 or 400 videos on YouTube. And he was using like AI software and everything. I don't Asim is so smart. But he was getting like 1,000 views on his because he was only doing shorts. He was getting like 1,000 views for like each of his videos. And me and Amir were like, what is going on? Because most of them he wouldn't even be like on camera or anything. It was just like he would redo like the popular shorts. But yeah, one day he came to me, he was like, I can't get on YouTube. And I was like, oh, I think they deleted your your account. So that was a funny era. So all of his videos that he was making are deleted because he was making them on YouTube. So it wasn't like he was saving them to his phone. But yeah, please don't judge me because I let him do that. It was an experiment. I wanted to see what would happen. But I told them like y'all know how to use your devices. You know how to take pictures and take videos. Do make some videos and then we can start a YouTube channel if that's what y'all really want to do. But they not serious. They're not serious. But they're also only 4 and 6. So I treat them like they're teenagers because they act like they're teenagers. But anyways, we can go on to the show. We can go on to the show. The thumbnail is a mural that was painted in Altadena, and it's um, pretty much depicting what happened in Altadena with the wildfires, which to this day I don't feel like they were organic. I do not feel like I feel like it was intentional. I believe that the state wanted that land and they were going to get it by any means necessary. Altadena was a historically Black town in Los Angeles. And we're going to talk about what is happening in Altadena a little bit later. But I wanted to get into some, hey, Melrose Radio. I wanted to get into some Black history that I did not know of. I just found out about. So, this is about Master Chief Carl Brashear. In 1966, a nuclear bomb took his leg. They cut his air hose, They threatened his life. He became the first black master diver in history. So, never heard his name before. Um, but I wanted to highlight him today because I just thought it was very his story was interesting. I um I was in the Navy JROTC in high school, and I was pretty high ranked. I had my own platoon and everything, so I thought that I was going to go into the Navy, but that did not happen. But I had a master chief who helped me a lot around along my NJROTC career. So when I saw that, I was like, I need to share this. So Carl Maxey Brashear, who is now deceased, was an American sailor who served in the United States Navy as a master diver. He was among the first African Americans to obtain that qualification, doing so in 1970 despite the amputation of his lower left leg in 1966. The film Men of Honor was based on his life. I've never seen that movie. Reparations Nations, Cuba Gooding Jr. made a movie about him. I guess that was the movie Men of Honor. I've never heard of that. I have never heard of that, but I'm gonna have to look into it. He was born in Kentucky. He was the sixth of 16 children, which is insane. He enlisted in the Navy in 1948. Um, 4 months before the military was desegregated by Harry Truman. Um, he became the first African American to attend and graduate from the Diving and Salvage School, and one of the first African American United States Navy divers. That is very cool history that I had no idea about. While attending diving school in Bayonne, New Jersey, Brashear faced hostility and racism. He found notes on his bunk saying, "We're going to drown you today, inward, and we don't want any inward divers." Brashear received encouragement to finish from boatswain's mate first class Harry M. Rutherford and graduated 16 out of 17. Um, just imagine how well he could have done if there wasn't so much racism. Um, I want to get to the leg amputation. In January 1966, in an accident now known as the Palomares incident, a B-28 nuclear bomb was lost off the coast of Palomares, Spain, after two United States Air Force aircraft of the Strategic Air Command, a B-52G Stratofortress bomber, and a KC-135A Stratotanker aerial refueling aircraft collided during aerial refueling. Brashear was serving aboard USS Hoist when it was dispatched to find and recover the missing bomb for the Air Force. The warhead was found after 2.5 months of searching. For his service in helping to retrieve the bomb, Brashear was later awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal, the highest Navy award for non combat heroism. During the bomb recovery operations on the 23rd of March 1966, a lifting cable snapped, causing a pipe to swing across the deck of the USS Hoist. Brashear darted to push a shipmate out of the object's path. It consequently struck Brashear's left leg below the knee, nearly shearing it off. The impact flipped him in the air, almost casting him overboard before he landed on the deck. He was evacuated to Torrejon Air Base in Spain, then to the USAF hospital at Wiesbaden Wiesbaden Air Base in Germany, and finally to the Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia. Beset with persistent infection and necrosis, his lower left leg was eventually amputated. Ugh. Um, Moving on, he recovered and he returned to full active duty in diving, which is amazing. Brashear was motivated by his beliefs that it's not a sin to get knocked down, it's a sin to stay down, and I ain't going to let nobody steal my dream. So that is a very, very, very inspirational story. Red Six says, I love that movie. It's really good. I want to see it now. I want to see it now. I've never heard of it. So that is awesome. And we can get on to our next inspirational story for the day. So I saw this yesterday, and I don't know the lineage of this woman, but I thought this was really very interesting history. Bernadette Thompson really shifted the culture. She became the first Black woman nail artist to have her work displayed at the MoMA. Who remembers the money set? A reminder that our style, culture, and innovation often start right at the fingertips. And this is a video about it.
Almost catching a charge for a set of nails is crazy. This is Bernadette Thompson from Yonkers, New York. She quit her corporate big girl job to do nails. She opens up a nail salon where Mary J. Blige's sister comes in one day, gets her nails done, goes home and shows her nails to a newly signed Mary J. Blige. Mary said, "Who the did your nails, sister?" She said, "Bernadette." "Bernadette, our friend Bernadette?" "Yes." A 16-passenger limo comes to pick up Bern from her new salon. "She's doing my nails too." Mary became her first celebrity client, and that got her a clientele list that included Little Kim. Everything on Kim look-wise was getting compliments from the production team except her nails. No one was really looking for nails like that back then, but she was. How can I make these things pop? She goes into her wallet, digs out some cash. This should work. It worked so well, people cared about the nails. There was press and interviews about it. She gets a phone call. Another interview, right? "Bernadette, stop right there. This is the U.S. Treasury. Defacing bills is a felony." They told her to stop. She said she stopped. She didn't stop, and I'm glad she didn't stop. She's the first Black woman to have nail art displayed at MoMA. They commissioned her to remake the money manicure. Louis Vuitton loved her work so much they paid her almost $20K for 10 days of work worth. And she's done nails for the biggest and the baddestest, historical and
Wait,
almost
they only paid her 20K for 10 days of work. I guess that's okay in the 90s, but that's insane.
felonious. That is legendary. For real.
I thought that was a cute story. The Treasury said, called her and said it's a felony to deface dollar bills. Well, it looked like she was defacing $100 bills, but that is a very cool story. Okay, we're gonna get to the real the nitty gritty. So months ago, I mean, we all remember what happened in Altadena. I just gave like a short recap, but when it happened, everybody, including me, was like, okay, so what's going to happen with the neighborhood? Like, are these people going to be able to rebuild on their plots? Are they going to be able to keep their homes? Um, we had already assumed that the state and the city were going to be trying to buy the land because, of course, that's what they're going to do, right? That's what they wanted the land. So I saw this article and I was like, they are trying it. 5 Black family homes worth $2.1 million burned to the ground. The insurance check, 297,000. One sister dead. Investors circling the ashes. This is what disaster capitalism is. Read what they did to Altadena's Black families and what that signals for all of us. So, I actually, if we have time, I want to talk about. I don't even know if I might be under NDA, but I wanted to talk about something that I did yesterday that was about like AI and the the environmental implications with AI. I'm sure we all know. Hey, Angelica Lena. I'm sure we all know about the data centers and what they're doing, but that's because we try to stay informed. There are a lot of people that don't know what is happening with these data centers and how detrimental they can be to your community, to your health, um, to your finances for sure. So, if we have time, I kind of want to get into that really quickly. But we are going to read this article, or as much of the article that we can read, because I'm not going to read everything. But insurance crisis leaves Black homeowners one disaster away from homelessness. From Altadena to Alabama, Black families learn real catastrophe starts after the disaster when insurers decide who is worth saving. And this picture is very I've seen this before. But this is in Statesboro, Georgia. It says after excessive rains in August 2024 caused flooding, studies show Black households lose wealth after disasters receive smaller payouts via the federal government and private home insurers and are less likely to be approved for key disaster aid. When I was younger, I had to be like 9 years old. I was at my grandparents' house in Inslee, Alabama, and it was a storm. It was a tornado. And this tornado actually hit the town over Pratt City and pretty much leveled every single house in the town. Um, that was that was a very, very crazy time because the people of Pratt City, they ended up rebuilding, and then another tornado hit it again and leveled it again. I guess the city of Birmingham decided that they were going to pretty much just buy a bunch of houses that were like pretty much in between my grandparents' house and Pratt City because they were in a flood zone, and they figured that it was any at any given time something like that would happen to that area as well. So I've seen it up close, something like that up close. So okay, the insurance check to rebuild Zaire Calvin's family properties came in at just under 300,000, a drop in the bucket compared to the roughly 2.1 million they had been worth. His family had 5 homes sprawled across 2 lots in the leafy suburb of Altadena, California, before the Eaton fire unleashed its wrath, leveling both his and his mother's houses and helping to turn a tight knit Black home ownership enclave into prime ground for speculators. Far more devastating, the inferno also took his sister Evelyn McClendon. The past 15 months, especially battling his insurance company, have been like war, said Calvin, 48, who was also raising a toddler throughout the ordeal. We've lost everything. Families here are falling apart because they're not able to fight, he added. Across the country, Black homeowners trying to recover after natural disaster are seeing their troubles mount when the very insurers who are supposed to be coming to their aid refuse to pay out, drop longtime customers, or demand itemized lists for total losses families can't document. It's part of a national home insurance crisis supercharged by climate change, where premiums are spiking in nearly every zip code, companies are fleeing high risk markets, and the costs are falling hardest on Black families. Studies show Black households are less likely to be approved for key disaster aid, receive smaller payouts via the federal government and private home insurers, and lose wealth after disasters, while white households tend to gain it, even controlling for factors like income, home ownership, and local damage. It's the most predatory thing out there. You're left begging them to pay, Calvin said. Even after experiencing a rate hike in the year before the fire, Calvin spent months painstakingly trying to prove renovations and contents that burned in the fire, only to be told by his insurer that without receipts and paperwork, much of it destroyed in the blaze, they will not fully recover what he lost. No one's taking a loss except for the homeowner. At least 6 million households have seen premium hikes since 2021, with the highest increases in the Southeast, where Black home ownership is concentrated. That's straining families already burdened by rising food and transportation costs. Homeowners with a mortgage must carry insurance, and renters often feel a pinch when landlords raise rents to cover rising premiums. Plus, at least 1.4 million households have had policies canceled outright. 1 in 4 of those cancellations are explicitly tied to extreme weather. So this is a very devastating story. Um, I don't know about y'all, but I have heard in certain. I feel like we talked about this a few days ago too. I've heard about a lot of people's premiums going up because of weather. I don't live in an area where that's an issue, so my premiums haven't gone up. They actually went down for my homeowners insurance, but they went up for every other type of insurance, including life insurance. And we already know that we are a wealthless people. We were a plundered people. We've had trillions and trillions of dollars stolen from us. And without reparations, the future is kind of bleak because we're going to have to continue to eat the cost of things, and we don't have wealth to absorb the rising costs. Like even right now with gas, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. We're not able to get gasoline. So of course gas prices are going up. I saw that they were like $8 a gallon in California. That might be wrong, but gas definitely went up like $1 in Georgia a gallon. So yeah, like I said, without reparations, um, I don't know what we're going to be able to do to offset the fact that we are wealthless. Um, Zaire Calvin also said, whether it was here in Altadena or in Maui or Louisiana, this is disaster capitalism at its finest. Um, there's also a story about something that happened in Alabama. We I'm not going to read about that, but it says Black homeowners spend a larger share of their income on home insurance than any other major racial group in the United States. This contributes to more than 1 in 10 Black homeowners lacking insurance. That is a huge problem, and that like when we talk about systemic racism being alive and well and having its effects on every facet of our lives as Black people, people don't really understand how deep it seeps into everything. Because I don't even know if I feel like I told y'all this story about when I first bought my house and how my homeowner's insurance was very, very expensive. And I assume that the reason why it was very, very expensive because of the neighborhood that I live in. Like, even if we're not penalized for, you know, our lineage, because it's not even skin color, it's really because we descend from the former slave class. That is the real reason why we're being plundered, because they just want to get rid of us so they don't have to pay us reparations. But the racism is still baked into everything. Like, I live in an area that was redlined, and this was what, 80 years ago, but we're still living the effects of that today. And it's in every part of my life living here. Like, we don't have a grocery store. I technically live in a food desert. The only grocery store isn't even a real grocery store. It's a convenience store. It's called a Pyramid Grocery. It's not a real grocery store. They used to sell like some produce, like they would sell like onions and stuff like that. But now you go up there, they don't have anything. But they did get their liquor license, and now they sell liquor. So environmental racism is it's it affects us in so many different ways, not just um, pollution and things like that, but also natural disasters, um, lack of healthy food. Um, there was a video that I actually wanted to show y'all. I guess we will end up doing this environmental racism show today, because I meant to do it like maybe 2 weeks ago, but I kept pushing it back because I had other things I wanted to talk about. But it's egregious because we have fast food places. Like I have like two JJ's fish and chickens closer than I have an actual grocery store. And that is a huge issue. It really isn't pyramid. That is, yeah, it's not a grocery store. Like when we first moved here, that was like one of the selling one. It wasn't really a selling point, but it was like a thing that we thought was a great thing that we could, you know, maybe go up there and get produce. But I went up there once and all they had was like onions. And them JJ's is owned by Arabs. That pisses me off. Are they? Because I thought they were owned by Asians, like Viets or I don't know. The one on Prior, it's nothing but Asians in there. But if you go to the JJ's on Metropolitan, it's black people working in there. So I I have no idea. But we don't have same thing, LOL. Yeah, I don't yeah. So it affects us in many ways. Like the environmental racism also affects education. When I first moved over to in Pittsburgh, we didn't even have an elementary school. The elementary school was closed. It didn't open up until the year before Asim started school. The one by you is on Candler Road. Yeah, that one's owned by Arabs. I've actually never been to that one. Yeah, the point is we don't own it. No, we literally don't own anything in our neighborhoods. I feel like I'm fortunate because as soon as I moved into Pittsburgh, like a lot of black owned businesses started opening up on like the Main Street part on McDaniel, like how it used to be, you know. Um but like we have a coffee shop, we have a spa, we have some barbershops, we have some restaurants, and all of that opened up in like within the last like 5 years. So Pittsburgh trying to do something. But like I said, we still don't have a grocery store. Like the closest grocery stores we have is the new Publix that opened up in Summer Hill and the Kroger on Cleveland Avenue, which is the worst Kroger I've ever been to. We don't go there. Um let me finish what they said on this article because I want to watch this video about fast food real quick. Um this dilemma is expanding the racial wealth gap as nearly half of all black wealth is tied to home equity. In counties with very large disaster damages, white households gain about 126,000 in wealth on average, while black households lost about 27,000. That is crazy. Calvin says this is the new redlining. Redlining made it harder for black families to get home loans in the 20th century and concentrated them in neighborhoods with more toxic industries and pollution. Today, those historically redlined areas face higher flood, fire, and extreme heat risk, in part because they sit in more vulnerable floodplains and have suffered decades of underinvestment in basic infrastructure like drainage, roads, and emergency services. Now, using artificial intelligence algorithms, insurance companies use that reality to charge higher premiums in black neighborhoods or pull out of the areas. It's a shame. Studies show that higher premiums also correlate with up to 43,000 decrease in property values. Is partly why the value of black owned homes has declined more than the value of homes owned by other racial groups since 2023. The home insurance crisis is not race neutral. Climate Power, a climate communications organization, wrote in statement to Capital B, it is magnifying decades of housing discrimination, draining black wealth, and putting millions of families at risk of losing their greatest financial asset. Um, we'll move on. But yeah, that is awful. But I am not at all surprised. Oops. Oops. Um, how much longer do we have? We're gonna watch this video. Reparations Nation says, I used to live off of Cleveland, and yeah, that Kroger sucks. But then that's most of Cleveland Avenue, and it's filled with liquor stores, fast food, and pawn shops. Literally, that's it. The best thing we had on Cleveland Avenue was what's his name? Shea Butter Jones. Did you ever go to Shea Butter Jones? That was the best thing we had. But he ended up having to move he ended up moving to Brookhaven of all places, which is crazy. How you go from Cleveland Avenue to Brookhaven? But he had to move because it was just like too much violence and BS happening outside of his restaurant. So that's another thing. In the ghetto, the people can't really get it together to the point where we can actually do good business and create the neighborhoods that we really want to create. Red Six says, yep, during the Houston hurricane in 2017, homes that were further away from the city with less damage got insurance payouts faster than those who were in the city where most of the damage occurred. That is a shame. I went one time and yeah, he went to the whites, LOL. Yeah, he went where they could really afford his food. That's what he did. Well, he was in that gas station and that was D-Boy Central. Yeah, it was. I think the last incident that made him move, like somebody must have got shot or something outside, and he was like, "Oh no, we gotta go." You know, him and his wife was in there. They were the only people in there. So yeah, let's move on to this. How fast food secretly destroyed Black America.
They told you fast food was about convenience, quick meals for busy families, the American dream of efficiency and affordability. But what if I told you that behind those golden arches and secret recipes was something much darker? What if fast food wasn't just feeding America, it was systematically destroying Black America, one neighborhood at a time? Picture this. It's 1968. Dr. King has just been murdered. Over 100 cities are burning. When the smoke clears, something strange happens in Black neighborhoods across America. The grocery stores don't come back. The banks don't return. The insurance companies refuse to cover new businesses. But somehow, mysteriously, the fast food chains start moving in. Not immediately. They're smarter than that. They wait just long enough for people to get desperate. Then they arrive like saviors, offering cheap food and franchise opportunities to communities that had been abandoned by everyone else. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't market forces. This was a calculated takeover that would span decades and destroy generations. While white suburbs got fresh supermarkets and family restaurants, Black neighborhoods got drive-thrus and dollar menus. They called it urban development. They called it economic opportunity. But what it really was the creation of a new kind of segregation, one that didn't care where you sat, but controlled what you ate, how long you lived, and whose pockets your money filled. By the end of this video, you'll understand how fast food corporations helped build a system of economic control that makes the old Jim Crow look simple by comparison. Let me take you back to April 4th, 1968. Martin Luther King Jr. is dead, and America is on fire. Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., over 100 cities explode in rage and grief. When the National Guard finally leaves and the curfews are lifted, entire business districts in Black neighborhoods have been reduced to ash and rubble. But here's what they don't teach you in history class. Most of those businesses never came back. The insurance companies showed up with their clipboards and their calculations, took one look at the damage, and made a decision that would reshape Black America forever. They refused to pay out claims. They canceled policies. They redlined entire neighborhoods, declaring them too risky for coverage. Without insurance, banks wouldn't loan money for rebuilding. Without loans, there could be no new grocery stores, no pharmacies, no restaurants. The very businesses that had anchored these communities for generations were effectively banned from returning. Sarah Jackson owned a grocery store on 12th Street in Detroit before the uprising. 3 generations of her family had shopped there, worked there, built their lives around that corner store. After the fires, she applied for insurance to rebuild. The company told her the neighborhood was now classified as...
It's so crazy how this video about fast food seamlessly went into what the topic was today, and I hadn't even watched this video yet. I was just gonna watch it with y'all. Reparations Nation says, "Yep, they were a neighborhood staple, and they attempted also when they moved to the hospital from that corner. I knew it was over then, but it's gentrified AF. So soon enough, we're gone." Yeah, right before the show, I looked out my bathroom window and I just saw a white man jogging down my street, into this house that's for sale. I don't know if he's like the realtor or what, but I think that him and maybe his boyfriend or something have been living in this house trying to get it sold. So yeah, and it's funny because I think about selling my house all the time because I'm so tired of Atlanta. Y'all know this. I want to move to New York or somewhere with a little bit more energy. But every time I think about selling my house, I'm like, that would be crazy. It would be so crazy for me to sell my house right now. And yes, Melrose Radio, they owe. They owe. That's the sign right there. Right. White people jogging down the street. And where I live, like I pretty much live on like a white corner. Cause my house is probably one of the least expensive houses on my little block because we have the house next to me that's probably worth like 400. They're trying to get like 350 from that house that the white man had jogged into. And on the other street where I can see like the back of the houses, they have like a row of like $400,000 houses. And this is in Pittsburgh. If y'all know anything about Pittsburgh, ain't nothing in Pittsburgh worth no $400,000 or more. Reparation Nation says, not NYC, that city is cooked. Yeah, it's cooked for, it's cooked. But I would like to move there for like a year or two and then come back to Atlanta like I usually do. The real sign is them biking with fancy helmets on. You see that too. You see a lot of that. The whole PTA at a Seam school is white. I think the only person, well, I haven't been to a PTA meeting yet this year because I'm not sure if they even had one yet. But y'all know he started late. But last year the whole PTA was white. The only person that was black was the president. And I doubt that they have a black president now because her daughter was about to graduate and go to middle school. So okay, let's finish. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
High risk. The premium would cost more than her entire annual revenue. Sarah Jackson never reopened her store. Neither did the Johnson family's restaurant down the street. Neither did the Williams Brothers pharmacy on the corner. Multiply Sarah's story by thousands, and you begin to understand what really happened in the aftermath of 1968. This wasn't just property damage. This was economic amputation. Entire food systems that had sustained Black communities were surgically removed, leaving behind empty lots and hungry people. And into this manufactured void, the fast food chains began to circle like vultures. But that's just the beginning of how they weaponized Black hunger for profit. If you want more hidden stories like this, subscribe to Black Stories Untold. Now, back to how corporate America turned tragedy into opportunity. The first McDonald's in a Black neighborhood wasn't built in 1968. That would have been too obvious, too cruel even for them. No, they waited. They studied. They let the desperation marinate for a few years, while white families fled to the suburbs, taking their grocery stores and sit-down restaurants with them. By 1972, when the first golden arches went up in devastated Detroit, it looked like salvation. Herman Petty was one of the first.
So pretty much they let all the Black grocery stores burn down so they can bring in fast food restaurants.
Black McDonald's franchise owners in the country. In 1972, McDonald's corporate.
And then they try to tell us that the reason why we have worse health outcomes than pretty much any other group in this country, probably except for the Native Americans, they're probably much worse off than us. But they try to say it's because of soul food when it's really because of fast food and soda and things like that. It's not because of our food. Like, our food is very healthy.
Approached him with what seemed like the opportunity of a lifetime. They would help him open a restaurant in his own community. They would provide training, marketing support, and the backing of America's fastest growing restaurant chain. What they didn't tell Herman was that he was part of an experiment, a test to see if Black franchise owners could be used to extract wealth from Black communities more efficiently than white owners ever could. The numbers tell the story. Herman's McDonald's in Detroit generated over $2 million in revenue in its first 5 years. Sounds impressive, right? Here's what's not impressive. Herman's take-home profit averaged about $40,000 a year.
Do y'all see that? He made $2.5 million a year at that McDonald's, but he only made $40,000 in profit. He only made $40,000 a year in profit. Thank you, Angelica Lena. Fair use in the Copyright Act of 1976 is a legal doctrine allowing portions of copyrighted material to be reproduced in certain circumstances without the permission of the copyright owner. And this is from hold on, yo. This is from Black Stories Untold. This is actually a really good YouTube channel. If y'all don't know, check it out.
Meanwhile, McDonald's corporate collected franchise fees, rent on the property they owned, forced purchases of equipment and supplies, and advertising fees. For what's not impressive.
I'm a rewind it because we might have accidentally leaped over the reason why he wasn't taking home that much money.
Herman's take-home profit averaged about $40,000 a year. Meanwhile, McDonald's corporate collected franchise fees, rent on the property they owned, forced purchases of equipment and supplies, and advertising fees. For every dollar that walked through Herman's door, about 85 cents walked right back out to corporate headquarters in white suburban Chicago. But even that wasn't the most insidious part. See, McDonald's had done their homework. They knew that Black communities had higher rates of diabetes and heart disease even before fast food arrived. They knew that poverty meant people were looking for cheap calories, not healthy options. They knew that in neighborhoods without full-service grocery stores, fast food would become not just convenient, but necessary. They weren't.
You know what? And this is definitely a blind spot for me, because we always talk about what came in after the Civil Rights Act and the Immigration Act. We always talk about how after integration, our communities were plundered and destroyed. But this is a huge reason why as well. You take out the fresh food, you take out grocery stores, and then you bring in fast food, like that is a huge reason why. Because fast food is not only unhealthy because of, it's not nutritious. It also can cause a lot of other things. It can cause depression, eating too much fast food. Of course, it leads to bad health, but bad physical health, but it can also add to bad mental health. Melrose Radio says, I'm glad we have people like Tariq and Joe Budden that own all of their IP and make 100% profit. Yes. And that has to be the move going forward. Hopefully one day that will be the move for me. Inshallah. Because I would love to own a media company where not just me, but all anybody else can promote their own content on my media platform. And it won't be on YouTube. It will be something that we all own. And it will be owned by the people. It wouldn't just be owned by me. I'm definitely not that type of person. It will be owned by the people. Everybody will own a share.
Just opening restaurants, they were creating dependency. The marketing strategy was surgical in its precision. McDonald's began pouring advertising dollars into Black radio stations, Black magazines, and Black community events. They sponsored basketball tournaments in neighborhoods that had no grocery stores, but 3 fast food restaurants within a 2-block radius.
Come on now. Come on. And like where I live in Pittsburgh, we don't have any fast food, but the closest, like I said, the closest restaurant we have a Haitian vegan restaurant that just opened up, and we have the Pyramid grocery store. They have a little restaurant in there too, but it's technically fast food. The convenience store, the little corner store that I be taking my kids to, they sell food too, but it's not healthy food. Um, the corner store. So where my granddaddy lives in Birmingham, 2 blocks down, they have a corner store. It's been there probably since he was a boy because he grew up in the pretty much in the same house that he lives in now, and he's 80 something years old. But it's called Stop and Shop, and they sell food every Sunday. I wish we had something like that here. They sell soul food every Sunday. I wish I had something like that in my, you know, in a 1 block radius from where I live. But if you go up to the West End, it is nothing but fast food. They got Taco Bell, um, Popeyes, churches, whatever type of fast food you want. I mean, they have other restaurants too because if you go up a little further, there's Tassili's, there's Q Time. There's a lot of other restaurants, but like if there's no other options and all you have is fast food, you can't go to a grocery store, so you're able to buy fresh food in order so you can cook a meal. You're really stuck. And of course, now we know the dangers of fast food, but we didn't. Our people did not know the dangers of fast food then. They probably knew that it wasn't good to eat, but they didn't know how bad it was to eat it.
They hired black advertising executives who understood exactly how to make processed food feel like community, how to make corporate profits feel like black pride. By 1980, something unprecedented was happening in urban America. For the first time in human history, there were neighborhoods where it was easier to buy a Big Mac than an apple, where children could walk to 5 different fast food restaurants but couldn't find a single place to buy fresh vegetables. This wasn't happening by accident, and it wasn't happening in white neighborhoods. But what they did next would make this look like child's play. The 1980s was when fast food corporations stopped pretending they cared about nutrition and went full predator. They had spent a decade testing their strategies, and now they knew exactly what worked. The crack epidemic was devastating black communities, unemployment was skyrocketing, and Reagan was cutting food assistance programs. Families that were already struggling now faced even deeper poverty, and the fast food industry saw opportunity. KFC launched a marketing campaign specifically targeting what they called urban consumers. Internal documents from the era, obtained through later lawsuits, show they studied shopping patterns, family structures, and even welfare payment schedules to maximize their marketing impact. They learned that many families received government assistance on the 1st and 15th of each month, so they timed their promotions accordingly. They weren't
That is so nasty. That is so nasty. They timed when people were going to be getting their benefits so they could have promotions at these fast food restaurants. Like, I can, that is sick. Reparations Nation says, unfortunately, I feel the same way about black churches. It's 10 in a 3-mile radius of my house and 5 are in walking distance. Yeah, that's how, literally, that's how I feel the same exact way. But in Pittsburgh, I think there's only like 2 churches that really remain. There's like 10, but I think there's only 2 that actually have service. Um, Angelica Lena says, it's coming back to me and it all makes sense now. When I grew up in the Chi, nothing but BK, McDonald's, and the whole food desert. You don't even realize it. You don't realize it. When you live in the city, you don't realize that there's not a grocery store close to your house. When I was growing up, I lived in the suburbs, of course. So we were going to have to drive anywhere to begin with. But when you live in the actual city part, you don't really recognize like, oh, I don't really have a real functioning grocery store close to my house. All I have is fast food that surrounds me. Reparations Nation says, man, Q time slaps. At least it did when I was back in 99, 2000. Yeah, I used to go when I was pregnant with a seam, I used to go there all the time for breakfast. I used to go and get the fish and grits. They got the oh my god, they pancakes are so good. Q time breakfast is. I haven't been in a while. That actually makes me want to go sometime soon. After Ramadan, I'm definitely gonna be trying to go to Q time for breakfast. But yeah, I used to go to Q time maybe because I only worked 4 days a week when I worked for Wells Fargo. I was very, very fortunate. I did not have to work Fridays. So Fridays, that was my day to go to Q Time. And I used to tear up some Q Time. Angelica Lena says, all there was is a grocery store named Wonder Foods with a liquor store right next to it. Right next door, owned by the Arabs. Yeah. I actually think, you know what? That little spot that I told y'all about that has all the gambling in it. I think that place might be called Wonder Foods. I kid you not. I think it might be called Wonder Foods. Okay, let's keep going because we running out of time. Actually, let me speed this up a little bit. Amina, do not play with me, girl.
They weren't just selling food. They were designing a system to capture as much government assistance money as possible. Burger King took a different approach. They focused on children. Their marketing research showed that brand loyalty formed as early as age 3, and that children in single-parent households had more influence over family food decisions. So they flooded Black neighborhoods with playgrounds, birthday party packages, and toys designed to create emotional connections between toddlers and burgers. They were literally programming the next generation to crave processed food. But McDonald's was the most ruthless of all. They pioneered what marketing experts now call cultural embedding. They didn't just advertise to Black communities, they made themselves seem essential to Black culture. They sponsored church events, community festivals, and school fundraisers. They hired Black celebrities not just for commercials, but to become public advocates for the brand. When a McDonald's opened in your neighborhood, they made it feel like a Black business, even though every important decision was made by white executives in suburban boardrooms. The results were exactly what they had planned. By 1990, the average Black family was spending nearly twice as much of their food budget on fast food as white families. Children in Black neighborhoods consumed fast food an average of 3 times per week, compared to once per week for white children. And the health consequences were starting to show. Obesity rates in Black communities began climbing faster than anywhere else in America. Type 2 diabetes, once rare in children, started appearing in Black kids as young as 10 years old. Keep watching, because what comes next will blow your mind. The corporations had their hooks in, but they still faced one problem: competition from the few remaining Black-owned restaurants and corner stores that had survived the economic devastation. These local businesses knew their customers personally, extended credit during hard times, and kept their profits circulating within the community. They represented everything fast food chains were trying to destroy: local ownership, community connection, and economic self-determination. So the chains declared war. Not openly, of course. They called it market expansion. McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, and Taco Bell began a strategy of aggressive clustering. Whenever they identified a Black-owned restaurant that was doing well, they would open a franchise directly across the street or next door.
Taco Bell did that too. I don't know if y'all if you know about Taco Pete Reparations Nation, but Taco Pete is like this delicious taco stand in East Point, or it's like on the edge of East Point and College Park, but it is so good. It's Black owned, of course. The people are from California, so they're making like California style tacos. It's delicious. Why did Taco Bell put a franchise right across the street from Taco Pete? And then Taco Pete had closed for a little bit because they were doing renovations, but they built a whole new one, brand new, right across, right in the same spot where they built that Taco Bell. They did. That is so nasty. Red Six says Pusha T wrote the jingle for McDonald's and they screwed him out of the royalties. I'm not surprised that da 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 da. I'm loving it. That one with Justin Timberlake singing. Nigel, please post a link to this in the chat. Thank you kindly. I will. Hold on 1 second. This video is so good. I can't believe it took me this long to watch it with y'all. Da, 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 da. Okay.
They could afford to operate at a loss for months or even years. Their suburban locations subsidized the losses. But a family-owned restaurant couldn't compete with a corporation willing to lose money just to drive them out of business. Take the case of Williams Family Restaurant in Baltimore. For 23 years, the Williams family had served their neighborhood soul food, hired local teenagers, and supported community events. In 1985, McDonald's opened directly across the street. Within 6 months, a KFC opened next door. The Williams family watched their customer base evaporate as people chose convenience and lower prices over community connection. Within 2 years, Williams Family Restaurant was forced to close. This pattern repeated in city after city, neighborhood after neighborhood. Local restaurants that had survived urban renewal, white flight, and economic disinvestment finally succumbed to corporate warfare. And with each closure, another piece of Black economic independence died. But the fast food industry wasn't satisfied with just controlling where people ate. They wanted to control the entire food landscape. They began lobbying city councils to change zoning laws in their favor. They pushed for restrictions on street vendors and food trucks that might offer healthier options. They fought against proposals for new supermarkets, claiming the neighborhoods couldn't support both fast food and grocery stores. In Detroit, documents later revealed through
What? They said neighborhoods couldn't accommodate fast food and grocery stores, so they were trying to make the city to stop allowing grocery stores in certain neighborhoods. I cannot believe it. Yep, I used to live in East Point. I love the little stand, and yes, Taco Bell is right next door. So nasty. I'm gonna go to Taco Pete every time. Like, I love me some Taco Pete. All right, let's keep going.
Freedom of Information Act requests show that McDonald's corporate lawyers helped write zoning legislation that made it nearly impossible for full-service grocery stores to open in certain neighborhoods, while making fast food restaurant permits almost automatic. They weren't just opening restaurants, they were rewriting the laws to ensure they would never face real competition again. The most devastating part was how they weaponized Black entrepreneurship against Black communities. The franchise system was designed to look like Black ownership while maintaining white control. Black franchise owners took all the financial risk, worked 80-hour weeks, and faced community backlash when people realized how unhealthy the food was. Meanwhile, corporate executives collected guaranteed profits and maintained plausible deniability. If anyone complained about fast food destroying Black health, they could point to Black franchise owners and claim it was Black-owned business. And this is where everything connects. By 1995, the transformation was complete. Neighborhoods that had once sustained themselves with locally owned grocery stores, restaurants, and markets now depended entirely on corporations headquartered in white suburbs. Money that had once circulated within Black communities, supporting Black jobs, Black entrepreneurs, and Black wealth building, now flowed out every single day to shareholders who had never set foot in these neighborhoods. The health consequences were exactly what any rational person would have predicted, and exactly what corporate executives had to have known would happen. Obesity rates in Black communities doubled between 1980 and 2000. Diabetes rates tripled. Heart disease, stroke, and hypertension all skyrocketed. Emergency rooms in Black neighborhoods began seeing children with diet-related diseases that had previously only affected adults. But here's the most insidious part. When Black communities started dying from diet-related diseases at unprecedented rates, the same corporations that had created the problem positioned themselves as the solution. They introduced healthier options like salads and apple slices while keeping their core menu exactly the same. They funded studies on childhood obesity that somehow never mentioned the role of fast food marketing. They donated money to Black health organizations, ensuring that criticism would be muted. This wasn't just business, this was systematic extraction. Fast food corporations had figured out how to turn Black poverty into white wealth, Black hunger into corporate profits, and Black death into shareholder dividends. They had created a system more efficient than slavery at extracting value from Black bodies. Slaveholders at least had to keep their property alive and healthy. Fast food corporations could work their consumers to death and simply find new ones. The numbers are staggering when you see them all together. Between 1970 and 2000, an estimated $400 billion flowed out of Black communities and into fast food corporate coffers. That's money that could have built Black-owned grocery stores, funded Black restaurants, supported Black farmers, and created generational wealth for Black families. Instead, it built mansions in white suburbs for executives who viewed Black customers as nothing more than profit centers. And the most tragic part? It worked so well that other industries started copying the model. Payday loan companies, rent-to-own furniture stores, and predatory cell phone companies all studied what fast food had done and applied the same strategies. Create dependency, extract wealth, blame the victims. This is why fast food became the new Jim Crow. The old system required signs and laws to maintain segregation. The new system uses zoning laws, marketing budgets, and franchise agreements. The old system was obviously racist and eventually faced resistance. The new system hides behind Black faces and claims to be providing opportunity. The old system lasted about 90 years. The new system has been running for over 50 years and shows no signs of stopping. Today, a Black child born in urban America can expect to live 7 years less than a white child born in the suburbs. Much of that difference comes down to diet-related diseases that barely existed in Black communities before fast food corporations targeted them for systematic exploitation. Every day, about 300 Black Americans die from preventable diet-related illnesses. That's a 9/11 every 10 days, caused by a food system designed to prioritize corporate profits over human life. But Black communities are fighting back. Food justice activists are creating urban farms, cooperative grocery stores, and community kitchens. They're demanding that cities limit fast food density and require corporations to pay living wages. They're teaching children to grow their own food and cook their own meals. They're rebuilding the food sovereignty that was stolen from their grandparents.
Actually, I don't know if I told y'all this, but they're building a community garden at a SEAM school, and during their winter break, we went up there and we helped them build the beds for it, and they're planting for it right now. So improvements are being made. Melrose Radio says we need a marathon burger to replace McDonald's. When I say like in Atlanta, there is only one place that I like to go for burgers because I know that they use beef tallow for the fries and they actually use real Angus beef. It's all the way in Dunwoody. I will drive 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes to go get an NFA burger. You couldn't pay me to eat a McDonald's burger. Like disgusting. I mean, you could barely pay the CEO of McDonald's to eat their burger.
The corporations are scared. They're spending millions on lobbying and public relations to maintain their stranglehold on Black neighborhoods. They know that if Black communities break free from their control, the entire system of extraction.
But the crazy thing is now, like, we really don't have too many communities. Like Pittsburgh is about dead. Gentrification is coming in. Like, it's going to be impossible for people to buy homes in this area. So, yeah, I mean, we're still in the South, so we still have a stronghold, kind of, but Black neighborhoods are disappearing, and this was the point. They wanted to kill us off. They were trying to figure out how they could kill us off, in any way possible, and economically, they got that. They got that. Melrose Radio says, "Thank you for helping out with that school garden. That's the outside where they said we're not." Exactly. Which is crazy. They expect us to be out screaming, "Yeah, we're FBA, we're ADOS, we're so long. This is what we're doing." That's what they expect, which is ridiculous. Like, come on, like I only talk to y'all about the stuff that I'm actually doing in real life. I don't even put this stuff on Twitter. It's really nobody's business. We do what we do and we let the fam know. Everybody else don't have to know. They can mind their business. Okay, go ahead, Mimi. We about to go get your brother in a second, okay? We just finishing up, babe. Reparations Nation says they are turning all those homes to rentals and the immigrants are scooping them up, them and the young whites. I when I bought my house, well, when I was about to buy my house, the man that owned it is Black man who's a lawyer and he does taxes. He's both. He was doing my taxes. I said I wanted to buy a house. He said, "Oh, well, I got a house in Pittsburgh." And I said, Pittsburgh, because I had an apartment in West Midtown, and I was working in Atlantic Station, so I wanted to buy a house in Bankhead. I was thinking like I was looking over in like the Center Hill, Cedar Ave area, because that's where I wanted to buy a house, because I was like, I want to stay on the west side. And he said Pittsburgh. I'm like, I don't really want to live in the Swats, but I'll go look at it. So I went to go look at the house. I fell in love with the house. It was, it was a crack house. And he wouldn't even let me go inside because he said it was so messed up on the inside. But I was like, I'll buy it. So we renovated the house. But at the time, him and his friend, they were like buying up all the houses in Pittsburgh. Like his friend owned like 11 houses. And he I don't know what he's doing with the houses now. I don't know if he sold them, but he said that there was a Russian based company that was trying to buy all the houses from him. So that's like the new thing. Like all of these foreign entities are buying up all the houses in these Black neighborhoods because they know that we can't afford them. We can't afford to keep them. And it's a travesty. because Pittsburgh was a pretty much a former slave community that was created in like 1800s and 1880s maybe. I think it was like the 1880s. Um, so it has like a lot of history, just like the West End. Um, so much history, and they pretty much took all the people out of it and put up a plaque. That's what they keep doing.
Collapses. That's why they fight so hard against every urban farm, every cooperative grocery store, every effort to rebuild local food systems. The story of how fast food destroyed Black America isn't over. It's being written right now in every neighborhood where people are choosing community over convenience, health over habit, and liberation over corporate control. The question is, which side of that story will you be on? If you want more stories about how corporations exploit Black communities while pretending to serve them, click the video on your screen now.
Oh,
It is May 1st.
we're definitely going to be watching more of his videos because those videos he did a great job with those. Um, but yeah, that concludes the show. I'm glad we got to do a piece of the environmental racism show. I really want to talk about the data centers and how um, companies put toxic factories in our neighborhoods to make us sick, and it's been happening pretty much everywhere. Um, but with the data centers, it's kind of like they're just trying to put them up anywhere, so a lot of people are affected. Reparations Nation says the old FBA history of Atlanta is amazing. A lot of cities, um, but I love my city. Yeah, we have some great history in Atlanta. That's why we need to hold on to it as much as possible because, like I said, these foreign entities, they're coming in and they're able to invest in Atlanta the way that we cannot. We just don't have the capital. We just and they know that. Um, but thank y'all for coming today. Thank you so much. This was a great show. I love y'all. And we'll be back tomorrow at 1:30. So if I don't see you in the tweets, I'll see you again then. Assalamu alaikum.